Good morning, everyone, and welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with American Scouser, brought to you by our friends at Reckless Coffee Roasters. And it is Monday, so Grumpy's here, and more importantly, the Polish Prince is back in the house. What's happening?
I'm back. It's good to be back. Happy to be back. It was really difficult for me because we landed in Chicago yesterday at about 2:30 p.m. local time, and we had to go to my in-laws' house. And so, for the entirety of the day, my phone was on airplane mode because I did not know anything that was going on with the final. I wanted to wait to watch it, so I didn't get to watch it until it started about 8:30 p.m. Chicago time yesterday night. So I got to celebrate at about 10:15, 10:30 at night, which was fantastic. But yeah, it's good to be back, and I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, you were not here last week, so you did not hear, but Grumpy had to go for some tests. There were some injury concerns within this injury mess. Yes, I know. Very upsetting. Very upsetting for everyone involved. Even Kazi was slightly upset, who was filling in for you last Monday. I'm glad to say the test did come back negative.
Oh, good.
But we are limiting his minutes to like 2 cups a day. So that we don't want to
Hmm.
extra strain on him over here. What a day yesterday, damn it's like unbelievable. I think we all started worried, and honestly, like, I mean, I know we've been talking about this for months. Like, not that I cared as much about the League Cup, and I think it wouldn't mean as much if we came out and smacked the hell out of them. I mean, it would still be fun, obviously, but this was so. The fact that that goal gets like disallowed and everything on top of it, it just made it 10 times better to win it this way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I because I didn't even know what the lineup was because I was in the air, so I was just radio silence, and then so I didn't want to look up anything, so I pretty much Googled ESPN TV Plus, so you just take me directly there, so I didn't have to look at anything. And then so the first image I saw was when they were showing the lineups before the game, and I was looking at it going, "Fuck me, man." I mean, if if we get anything out of this, it's going to be a miracle kind of day, and I I don't think I was alone in the sentiment. I think many people had the same feeling that given what would have happened yesterday, I think we were okay with whatever result, as long as there was some sort of uh, passion, some sort of drive to just play your heart out kind of deal. We
Yeah.
knew that the cards were stacked against us. We knew that the bench was full of teenagers. Like there wasn't a single name you could look on there and go, that guy's going to change the game because
Yeah.
there wasn't. That's it's just part of the nature of the sport when you have the injuries. So I think especially when the trio of kids came on, that was at that moment I went, okay, whatever happens, happens. Like these guys have played their asses off.
Yes.
If they win, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. If they lose, they did what they could. And yeah, I mean, it's just amazing how fearless those kids were. Honestly, like they came in and just not a single moment where I thought, wow, they look like 16, 17, 18, 19. I mean, they're not 16 obviously, but they don't look like kids. They look like they belong for the most part.
Yeah.
So it was great, man. It was absolutely great.
Honestly, like initially I had the same feeling, right? When the kids come in, you're like, hey, there's nothing to lose. Even if they lose now, it's like, what are you gonna do? It's the kids out there and stuff. But oh, nice. But as we keep going, it just gave me that. I was saying this in the post match as well. I had that feeling like I had in the Spurs game. The most devastating thing for the Spurs game for me, with that conceding that own goal by Matip at the end, was that effort deserved something. Like what they put out there, playing with 9 men, blah, blah, blah. Like it deserves something. It was so disappointing not to get anything out of that, like freaking hard fought game. And I got the same feeling afterwards, like I think it was like end of the first overtime or whatever. I'm like, it's just like I don't want this. They gotta get something for this. It'd be so unfair not to get something for this. These kids playing and stuff like that. So that was nice that it did turn out something like so positive for him. And I mean, you're almost 18, but I don't know what the hell you were. I don't know what the hell you were up to when you were 18, but like, well, AJ and I are like watching it, and we're like, this is freaking ridiculous. Like, the dude is like 18 years old. I mean, that other kid is, what's his name? He's only like 16. I mean, it's almost like they're looking around like in the stands, probably like for their parents and stuff like that. But I don't know if they, most people look for their parents to wave. I don't. I just thought they were looking to make sure their ride was still good.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So
They
they're
were,
not going to be able to drive home.
they needed to. Oh, and it's just me. Yeah. The kids. I don't know what's going on. Unfortunately, this is just a Monday. This is just how things go. Sometimes we just have to take a little detour, and that's okay. The kids, they definitely looked like they were just looking to find a ride home, and we're glad that their parents were there. I mean, obviously, the plane took them home, but it was still great to see all the kids there. I am also going to be uh, waiting until Timothy comes back
I'm back.
because
The hat reflecting was bugging the shit out of me, so I had to do it.
I will have to say to you, Timothy, for some reason, when I came back and I turned on my computer, everything I'd ever logged into has logged me out. So I have no control over StreamYard right now. I am just a guest. I don't see any of the comments. I can't do anything, any fun stuff.
Oh, really?
Down below.
Good thing you don't see the comments. You see the shit they're writing about you. It's
I know. That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I think that's what made the game so special. And I know you listen to Klopp. When Klopp says this is like, so I think I can't remember the exact phrases he used, but like the most meaningful or something along those lines trophy that he's won. And for a guy who's won the Premier League, the Bundesliga against all odds, really the Premier League against all odds, the Champions League and stuff like that, it's very like telling that he singled this one out. Do you think it's like, I mean, I was thinking about this. I mean, we were actually talking with my brother who even said as a United fan that goal being disallowed was just bullshit. Like he's like, where's I thought we were trying to like encourage scoring as opposed to like the other way around. But like the fact that these kids have been in the system for so long growing up, we were like, will this kind of shit ever happen for a team like Fenerbahce and stuff like that, where you gotta have patience, you gotta have a system in place. So the kid is playing in this system since God knows when. He's like 10, 12 years old or whatever. And so when he actually does play, he's only dealing with the moment. And I'm sure the moment is still big, but the manager is more focused on getting him ready for the moment as opposed to tactically, because he's very familiar with the tactics overall.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where when you're brought up for 6, 7, 8, 9 years, you sometimes just need to get that trust to just get thrown in there, and whatever happens kind of deal. There's a good chance that 3, 4, 5 of these kids that we see, the homegrown picture that they took all together.
Yep.
There's a good chance that 3 to 5 of those guys end up playing like League Two in several years, and we might not see them. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is that they were able to come in, do the job when necessary, and they're going to be remembered forever for this moment. Who cares what happens with the rest of their career? Kind of deal. Obviously, we want to see them do well. We want them to continue and to be part of the team if it makes sense and all this stuff. But the fact that they were just able to do the job that they did, allows you to see that the trust that the coaching staff have in the kids, and B, it allows us to see that there is some talent that is being. I mean, we've seen many times that Liverpool does a good job of bringing kids up. It's just we tend to overhype them really quickly. So I mean, this is good to have, but we also can't sit here and say Jadon Danns is going to be better than Harry Kane because he has a medal in 38 minutes and Harry Kane never had one, right? But it's also it's good to have that. I mean, it's fun.
I think I mean, let's face it too. Like these guys, it took a ridiculous injury situation for these kids to get the opportunity. Otherwise, most of them are not going to be there. Maybe, maybe one or two, like McConnell or somebody like Clark, maybe would have, but like none of the other guys. So, but to have that opportunity to go out there and, I don't know, not crap your pants, I guess, in Wembley, in that atmosphere, the stress. Seriously. I mean, overtime coming in the second overtime is stressful. You could see the stress and, how it was affecting players on the Chelsea side from guys like Mudryk and stuff like that, who are getting gazillion dollars and been pros for a long time. So for a kid, and I don't know if it's like the complete opposite. We were talking about this. Actually, let me ask you that. In the pre-match, we were talking about this, and I said, we gotta finish it in regular time, just because, I mean, you have nothing but kids on the bench, and B, like if it goes to penalty kicks and stuff like that, I don't know if you want these penalty kicks. And while I know like Mecca and I think Kazi were saying, it might almost help them because they might not think as much and just do their thing. I just don't see that they are still kids. I mean, for them not to think. I mean, you hear, as I like watch, I went, in a YouTube hole yesterday watching a lot of like coverage, and you hear ex players talking about, I mean, this shit gets in your head one way or the other. We think they're pro. Oh, he's a pro and stuff like that. I mean, we do jobs and we might know ins and outs about it, but there are still stressful moments when it comes to the job. So I feel like, they handled it really well. But how do you think it would have affected them if we went to penalty kicks? Because you could see, I did not see the Chelsea players being so. I guess they felt, Poch said that they felt the penalty kicks would favor them.
Yeah.
Probably because of those reasons.
Yeah. And I mean, it was like the 115th minute, right before the couple minutes before that goal. And I'm sitting here thinking, if it does go to penalties, who is taking the penalties? Obviously, we had the moment 2 years ago where everyone had to take a penalty and it worked out, but you also didn't have 5 teenagers taking the penalties. So I think, all in all, the pressure the entire time was on Chelsea, just mentally.
Yeah.
Because when you go into this final with the team that you have, obviously they have some injuries too, right? I mean, they were missing Thiago Silva, missing Reece James. I don't know how much of a miss that is considering his injury history, but you could say that they weren't fully where they wanted to be as well. But that doesn't mean, they had a $250 million double pivot between Caicedo and Enzo, right? And we had Endo. And so they had, I think, with the money plus the experience plus Enzo Fernandez, he won a World Cup, and you can kind of see him buckling in a Carabao Cup final. It's almost laughable. So I think that was the big thing, was there was so much pressure, I think, mentally on Chelsea, because this felt like a game they couldn't lose, and they did in a terrible way. It's not like it was a fluke goal where, they had 12 shots on goal. We had the one shot on goal happened to be a deflection off of I don't know, Petrovic's head or whatever the case was. It was a real win by Van Dijk and a bunch of kids.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like amazing. And yeah, Ryan says, I'm not sure Klopp knew who was taking those penalties. I can see him not. I mean, this is not something like, normally you have at least the starting five is like, I don't know how they would determine. I don't know if it would be the veterans taking the first penalties kind of thing, like Diaz, Endo, and Van Dijk and stuff like that. But watch the Argentina. Yeah, there's a lot of, like I say, as I was online, there's a lot of anti-Poch. Like, Kane is taking Tottenham to Munich, and, he's taking Tottenham to Chelsea over there by like the bottle jobs and stuff. But Roman says, hopefully American Scouser guys will go to the Philly game. Tickets are online. Hope to see you guys there. Glad you mentioned the Roman, because actually we are on our Discord fan channel, which if you're not on there, why the hell aren't you on there? But probably because maybe you never saw one of my invites. So let me put one of those invites just in case as I say that. But we are trying to get all together. I think there's a bunch of us. Some people think they're like special and cool and stuff. So when everybody is going to Philly, they're going to South Carolina. I'm not gonna name names. What where are you going, Matush? Oh, you go to South Carolina. That's right.
No, yeah. I think that was me. I think, yeah. I mean, look, it's a weekend game. It's a weekend game, and it's a lot easier to make it than to Philly. And the wife and I have wanted to go to South Carolina for a while, so this kind of
they're in South Carolina,
dude. It is what it is. I only have so much to choose from. I choose a Wednesday night Philadelphia game or a Saturday night Columbia game. So that's where the cards landed.
Honestly, if we hadn't we went to Charleston. We do these like 2-3 day ordeals with Angie, and like try to visit like different cities and stuff like that. So we did do a Charleston So if we hadn't done Charleston, would we have gone to the South Carolina one? I'm not sure, but out of I hate to say it, but there's not a lot of cities that we put on our list. We're like, yeah, we should go check that out. I hate to say it, but because honestly, you've seen a big city, you've seen another big city. They're pretty much mostly the same, right? Unless you go to like a totally different place, like South Carolina is totally like very different than everywhere else. Similar to when we went to New Orleans, where it has like a different flavor, if you will, compared to else. I thought South Carolina was like New Orleans light or something like that. It just like came across like that, how the city was and everything. But so Philly was one of them, and it ends up being Angie's birthday. Actually, the game is on Angie's birthday, so we were thinking, and we try to do those trips like midweek anyway. So Tuesday to Thursday, go see Philly. So if you have recommendations for Philly, where to eat, where to go, which bell to ring, and stuff like that, yeah, let us know. And
the Rocky Steps.
oh yes, I will do the Rocky Steps. I don't know. I might have to get dropped off to the top because I don't know if I'm running up the steps, but one way or the other, I will do the ultimate Rocky pose over there. How was Spain, by the way? Speaking of traveling,
Yeah, it was.
did you
beautiful.
go over there because they have a king and stuff? You're like, hey, maybe I can be a prince over here, or what?
No, I could never relinquish my throne here at American Scouser. That's ridiculous. No, it was fantastic. Madrid was great. Barcelona was great. It was unfortunate with. I really wanted to go to La Liga game. I know I'm not the biggest. Obviously, I'm not a big Madrid or Barcelona fan, but it would have been an experience to go to either one of those games. And it just worked out that when we landed into Madrid and stayed there for a couple of days, they played away. And then when we went over to Barcelona and we were leaving, they were playing at home, but we were leaving to go back to Madrid. So it just didn't work out quite as well. But we did take a tour. Barca has this really cool virtual museum kind of deal. And they have this robo keeper with Marc-Andre Ter Stegen that you kick the ball and then he actually moves to save it. And it's pretty good, except that
Did you score? That's what everybody wants to know here.
I scored 4 out of 6 times. And some kid was in line calling me Lewandowski. He was like, hey, we should sign this guy. And I was like, you have no idea. It was pretty great.
Just a keeper.
Yeah. I'm on the other side. You don't understand this. This is pure luck right now. I don't know how I did it, but I'll have to send you a little clip. Bottom 90, left side, just peach of a goal.
Did you just do it really quickly so Stegen didn't know it was coming or something, or like
yeah, actually,
if
you kick it hard enough, it doesn't have time to react. I think the problem with a lot of people were they weren't kicking it hard enough, so it was reading it really easily. But if you get just enough power, you could easily place it.
Tips on how to beat AI goalies right here. Nicely done. Nicely done. So you guys just went to Madrid and Barcelona, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
Which one is better if I did one city?
Oh, it's difficult because they're very different. And here's what I would say. And this is sort of a comparison that Michelle made that made a lot of sense. Madrid is more like New York City. Barcelona is more like Miami. So take if that helps at all, like what direction you'd want to go in. The nice thing is it's only a 3-hour difference by train if you want to go to either. So if you want to
there's garbage on the streets in Madrid and you get carjacked in Barcelona or what?
No, I mean it's just Barcelona is more of the relaxed, beachy kind of vibe, and Madrid is the big city. I am gonna say this is wild. The amount of people in both of these cities, and this was considered off season. I don't want to know what it's like in the summer in either one of those places because Madrid,
the amount of tourists,
just people in general. I mean, yeah, probably tourists make up. Yes, human beings on the streets. It was a 50-degree day in Madrid in February, and we're walking down one of the busiest streets, and it's just shoulder to shoulder everywhere. And I'm like, if this is February, what is it like in the summer? It's absolutely insane, but it's beautiful. Architecturally, I'm a big history guy. I loved seeing all the buildings, all the museums, all the landmarks, everything. It was just, it's a beautiful, beautiful country. And I would definitely recommend going at some point if you get the chance.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the destinations. Once we finish this U.S. tour over here, we're going to retire the U.S. tour and then start the world tour, I think. And, Europe seems like you go there and then you can just hit a bunch of spots, do a couple of weeks and hit a bunch of spots kind of a deal. But NG is all like, we're now that we have this computer gaming setup to tell you, but as any typical Monday, it didn't even take 40 minutes, 20 minutes, and we're off the rails. But we've been playing like a lot of like Age of Empires, and the first scenario is all these like castles and stuff like that in England. And NG's like, oh, we got to see. I'm like, to be fair, once you see one of these castles, they all end up being the same, especially like castles, right? Like when you go to England, like every pretty much every city has its own castle. And once you see one, you pretty much see most of them. But yeah, we're making like a destination list of places to go to. And yeah, Spain is obviously one of them. But I don't know about the crowd. I mean, the crowded thing, I think, is just, I mean, Istanbul is holy moly as well. So I think that's just like, I mean, New York was jam-packed too, though.
It's part of what a big city is, right? It's like you were saying, it's part of it. And granted, you could definitely, there's different places in Spain you can go to. I don't want to sit here and be like, hey, those are the only 2 places in Spain, because we didn't make it down to Sevilla or anything like that. So it's just one of those great experiences just in general, just to see life over there. And I think in general, I think we appreciate going over there because we really like the lifestyle of Europeans a little bit more than here in the States, just because, especially in Spain, it's very relaxed. If if you go to a restaurant in the evening and there's people ahead of you waiting, and you tell whether it's the host or the waiter, like, yeah, we're just here for table 2, they will not tell you how long you will wait, because Spanish people will take 2, 3, 4 hours to just sit there and just eat and drink and just take their time. So they won't tell you, oh yeah, it'll be about half an hour. They will not tell you anything. So you have to either think about if you want to stand there for potentially 2 hours, or you just move on to the next place. That's kind of how
that was one of the things, actually, when I came to the US, like eating out as an experience is an experience, like very, very different.
Rushed, man. It's
sense.
So
it is very rushed over here. Like, even if you go, I'm not saying like if you go really fine dining, I think you get a lot less of it, obviously. Like if you go to, I don't know, you go to Vegas and you go to like a, top restaurant, yes, everything goes. But if you go here, and obviously when I came here as a student, I wasn't going to top restaurants. But you go to, even at that time, what would like Angie and I would consider going out to eat, like a special occasion kind of a thing. I don't know, like Outback or something like that.
Yeah.
Like there were some things that I was like, what the hell? Like, did you want to keep the fork? No, I don't. Do you want to give me a clean one? Like, who does that kind of a thing? Like, it was just like weird things like that. And then them bringing, I mean, I love when they bring you the bill and they're like, oh, whenever you're ready, no rush. Then why the fuck did you bring it? Like, I would have asked for it. And that's like, that would be considered very rude, because that's basically saying, get the hell out of here. And that's what they are saying. And you're not being subtle about it. Like by saying, oh, no rush, whenever you're ready. You're not being subtle. You're basically saying, hey, beat it, man. We got other people for this table. And sometimes even when they don't have other people in this table. And I think that's because the poor waiter, waitress is not getting paid anything aside from the tips, so they have to rotate and get your ass out of there, so there's somebody else at their table and stuff like that. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's a difference. It's almost like similar to when you go from a small city or small town to New York, or like Chicago. Heck, I mean, I'm a couple of hours away, as we all know. I mean, even if you go from the suburbs of Chicago to Chicago, the way people move, the way people walk, everything is a lot faster. It's almost like put on like fast forward. So you take that difference, I think, and you put into like a suburb life on that. Is that relaxed when you go to Europe? Or is it because like you kind of going as a tourist too? It's not like you got a work meeting afterwards.
I don't know, but you can almost see it in how everyone else walks too, though, right? I mean, like you go like you're saying, when you go to Chicago, everyone is moving at a quick pace. In Spain, like we were walking around, no one's really busting their ass to move from one place to another. Every once in a while, you see someone booking it for the metro, but it's just like the pace itself is much slower, and that's it's part of the lifestyle. And for me, especially at the restaurant point, like I was a server here for many years, and I was just thinking about how difficult it would be for me to serve there. And then on the flip side, how difficult it would be for someone to go from Spain to the States to serve here, because you have to serve a completely different way. You have to be on top of your tables in the States here, where you're literally asking them if they're okay every 2 minutes, or they might give you a bad review for not checking in on them. Whereas over there, you have to hunt them down. Like, hey, can I get this? Because they don't want to bother you. That's it. They're like, look, if you need something, you'll get me. Otherwise, I don't care, kind of deal, right? I don't want to ruin your experience. So yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, like it seems like a bad simulation when you go from like the suburbs, like to like Chicago or New York and stuff. I remember like going, I worked at Menards for like a long, long time. Which actually I want to get to, like when we get to club, I want to ask you about that next. But I remember like going, you did like some of like the legal stuff, and you would have to go to the city for like a deposition or something like that, like a lawsuit or whatever. And then like I remember like sitting in this big building, and because I'm like the store manager, you're gonna get deposed of like procedures, stupid stuff like that. And because somebody saw something and just like took a dive on it, like they're fucking Sterling, so they're trying to sue Menards. And so I remember like sitting there one day, and you see all these people. They're like, dude, not all these people can be late. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, everybody's running constantly. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I would make it in this environment, because people are like, and I grew up in Istanbul. Maybe that's what it is. Like, I grew up in Istanbul, where it's nonstop, as fast as hell, move or you're gonna get trampled, kind of a deal. So when you kind of step back for it, you were like, yeah, this is a lot better. I don't want to go back to that. But
Yeah.
let me ask you about that, because as I was watching it, this is gonna go totally off the rails again. But as I was watching it yesterday, I thought, I know he said it meant a lot more to him because it was like a special kind of trophy and stuff like that, special win. But I feel like we saw a totally, totally different club than what we normally see.
Are you
Especially in the
saying?
celebrations and stuff like that.
Yeah. Are you? I mean, I feel like if this is what you saw as well, he just seemed more relaxed than ever. Is that kind of the direction that you're going?
Yeah, like
it just
more soaking it all in, like getting,
yeah.
like making the most out of it.
Yeah, he just like it was very. I think soaking it in was the perfect way. I was trying to think of a different word, but that's exactly it. Kind of just taking. It's potentially the last final he'll ever have as the manager of Liverpool, right? I mean, we hope it's not, but it could very well could be. So I think soaking it in is the correct way, and maybe part of that was again going back to our mentality of knowing that this is the squad that we have, and whatever happens. He's got so much trust in all the guys on the team, and he's just more excited to see what they're capable of doing together as a unit, rather than just a bunch of really expensive stars getting thrown together on a team. And so just being in the moment and taking it all in, it was almost like he was a fan himself more than a manager. Just being there, being present in a way that like you're saying, I don't think we've quite seen before. He was still in some way like his animated self, yelling at the fourth official and all that, like the classic Klopp things. But yeah, especially towards the end, you just got a sense of he was just happy to be there almost.
Yeah, it was just like an odd feeling watching him. He was a lot more involved in the celebrations, which he normally is not. He kind of like, takes the back seat overall and kind of like lets the players have it and stuff like that. But it just felt like he was. And I guess once you put the kids in, there's really absolutely nothing to lose, right? Liverpool could have lost yesterday, and it would not be a story. Like, it would not be like, why did they do this? I don't think we'd be questioning like anything. It would be impossible to sit, like on this morning or tomorrow's podcast or in the post match and say, why did he just not put Bradley on the left? Because we don't even know these kids to be able to even say, I thought McConnell should be the attacking one and stuff like we have no idea. So I think it would be a lot easier to criticize, and everybody would be like, hey, they did their best. They put up a good fight, fair play to them. And then Chelsea got lucky is probably what we would say. Lucky in terms of what they had to face as opposed to what they could have possibly faced. But he looked like Ryan says, well, he's leaving, so everything is different. It's more special. It just feels like, obviously, in the heat of the moment, it's still stressful, right? I mean, the job is stressful, but when you're doing it for so long, it's probably like a lot of aspects of it you like. I mean, that's why I was like, I ran Menards for a long time, and anybody who's worked retail knows it can be rough, especially like in the city, security, legal, shooting, theft, blah blah blah. It's very, 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 very stressful. But there are certain aspects of it, I liked, like the managing, leader of men, blah blah, like stuff like that. I really enjoyed, building careers and stuff like that. And I almost like resemble to him, like he's seen these kids from kids to now, like he's seen that growth, and that's like very rewarding and stuff. But I remember once, and I hated it. I'll be honest. Towards the end, like I hated it the last long time. Anyway, long story, but I really hated it. I just couldn't wait to get out. But the moments I knew I could get out, and I was getting out, like a month and a half, I'm putting my 2 weeks and stuff. There's like a whole, you can actually enjoy the things you enjoy.
Yeah.
And the other stuff that you would normally stress over, you're like, fuck it, I'm gone in a month and a half anyway, kind of thing. Whatever happens, happens. I don't know if that, as I watched, and that's all I could think of it is like, this feels like my last month and a half at Menards, where I was like, I knew I was going, and you get to enjoy things that you actually take pleasure in a lot more. You look at him with like 5-10 minutes to go, and he's watching the pitch, like smiling, just appreciating what's happening out there and how special it is, regardless of the result. That gave me the feeling that he's really enjoying like the stress, because everybody was like, will he stay now and stuff like that. I think he's enjoying it this much because, like Ryan says, he's leaving. He knows he's gone, so the stress is lifted off.
Yeah. And he knows that he saved the club a ton of money again, because they're like, hey, why spend 250 million on some players when you've got these guys right here that can take care of it all?
That's another thing. I mean, how many of those guys, yeah, like you said, I mean, how many kids were in that picture? 7?
I
was trying to find it online after the match. I was actually going to send it to my brother, and I couldn't find it. But I'm sure it's on there somewhere now.
Here it is.
Let's count them. Actually, let's see who we think kind of an ordeal.
Oh, you have to add it.
Sure there's no cream pie. Oh, I gotta add it because you can't have no capabilities. Okay.
So Kwanzaa by Setic. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if you're counting Harvey, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 if you're counting.
That's ridiculous, Trent. By the way. That's So obviously Trent is out there, probably in midfield. No, I'm just kidding. But Trent's obviously Harvey, Kwanzaa, you would almost consider made it. And I think it was Cersei or somebody was saying it's that Bradley probably you can put in there as well.
Yeah.
Out of the other kids that you see there, because I think that's Bandok in the middle there.
So that's Doak, McConnell, Trey Ione, Bobby Clark, Bradley, obviously. This
McConnell? Is that McConnell?
No, McConnell's here. 53.
Oh yeah.
67 is Coombs.
Okay. So how many of those kids in 3 years
Louis Coombs
will be there?
In 3 years?
3 years.
Let's go with 5.
We're not counting Trent and stuff.
Right. I'm not counting Trent or Harvey.
But you are okay, so you're counting Bradley and Kwanzaa as part of that 5.
Yeah, so Bradley.
So out of the others, I'll go with 2.
You're going okay, so I'm going Bradley, Bicetic, Kwanzaa. Clark, McConnell potentially would be my 5. That's shooting high. I think more realistically, like Cersei is saying, Kwanzaa and Bradley for sure, and then the rests we kind of have to see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, I really like what I've seen out of McConnell so far. Like very calm on the ball, and I thought Clark was like so confident yesterday. It was not his normal self. It just looked. He looked like Bradley, like he's been there before, played a bunch of times, like very, very fearless and very physical. I mean, I thought that was the shocking part of it, is like how physical and winning physical battles Clark was. And I think that's pretty darn impressive. You look at that midfield at the end, that's freaking impressive.
He seems like a little shit house, you need those every once in a while. I think someone was saying in the comments earlier, maybe it was, I don't remember who, but they said that Clark was the one that won that corner because he was just aggressive, right? He just wanted it more, and that's what won the corner.
Doak, McConnell, Clark. I can go with the Kwanzaa will be the best of the lot, says Dom. I think, yeah, Kwanzaa is going to be here. I really like Bradley and what he does, but I like, out of these kids that, I mean, Bradley, we just got introduced to like probably like what month and a half ago, but like McConnell, Clark yesterday was like the first time I was like, oh, wow. But McConnell, like we've seen quite a few times, and I really like what I see out of him.
McConnell, he's comfortable on the ball, but he just looks awkward for some reason. I don't know. I think it's just his I don't know if it's his posture, whatever it is when he's on. He looks uncomfortable, but he's comfortable on the ball. If you know what I mean. I don't know. It's a weird feeling.
Yeah, I mean Clark. Yeah, like you said, yeah, he did set up the corner for the. I mean, just the way he played was just like unbelievable. I thought, but okay, let's go to this. Cersei says the refereeing decisions probably justifies Club making his decision to leave, and yeah, he probably like or only compounded. But what did you make of that call? I understand that by the rule of law. Well, let's go with your take first. What did you think? Because you looked at it. Here's the thing: you looked at it a lot calmer. Because when you watched it, you knew the score, right?
No, I didn't know anything.
Oh, you didn't know the score at all?
No, I was.
You, man. How did you manage that? No social media, nothing all
day.
No,
the phone was completely off, like airplane mode. I didn't look at my phone.
Well, kudos to you. I don't think I could.
Yeah, it was tough for sure. Michelle, when we landed, she looked up the score, and I hated that she told me that.
Yeah, see, I hate that
because then I'm like, fuck. Then everything she's saying, I'm analyzing. Like, is she saying it in a good way or a bad way? And then
you're doing like the reverse. Is she saying that because she thinks I'm going to think this and I can think that?
Yeah. Like, is she going to be? Is she setting me up for disappointment? Like, does she know I'm going to be really upset later? Or does she know I'm going to be really happy? And she ended up falling asleep before the game ended because we were just tired from the flight. But when I watched it. And I'm probably going to be in the minority here. I think it was the correct call. I think the problem is that we've seen that happen a lot and it not having an effect on the call at the end. And the fact that it was called during a final, and you could also argue, this is, again, just like Lukaku 2 years ago when that offside call, you could also argue that offside call for Chelsea as well was a bit harsh, especially for the stature of the game as well. I think it both are the right call. If both get let go, are both fan bases upset? I don't think so.
Okay, so that's why I think Ryan is your huge fan. But I think, yes, if you were in there and, you went to a refereeing school, they put it on there. You're like, look at number 3. Is he off? It's a subjective call. What is your call or whatever? You would watch it and then maybe you say, yes, by the letter of the law, he's off. I understand that. But goes back to what you were saying. I mean, how many times have we seen this is a freaking strategy people do? They put 3 people, 4 people literally on the line of the, like where you take the penalty kick and everybody's lined up on like the box. And we've never seen him call it. And I think as I was watching stuff yesterday, I thought this was like an excellent way to put it. Goldbridge, of all people, in the football channel, he was saying, don't look for shits that we don't normally see. Because no Chelsea fan said, hey, he's off when they saw the goal. To the point where Stitch and Leo can attest to this. When there's a goal, Stitch knows. Leo is still learning VAR. He's old school. But Stitch knows, he's the veteran, right? That when there's a goal, we wait for VAR. I did not even see that when they took the, I was like, he's good. And then we got the snacks. I come back, so I had to make them barf it out. No, I'm just kidding.
So stick your finger down their throats. Give it back.
It's got VAR.
You didn't earn it yet.
So, I mean, yeah, that was like I did not even see it. So, and I'm guarantee you, no Chelsea fan saw it. Do not go back into a game and find things that are not there. 5 years ago, that was passive offside. And it was never, doesn't matter if Endo is standing there. He's holding his ground. He's setting a pick, if you will, like
Mhm.
in like football or basketball, but he's not like just putting his shoulder out and stuff like that. They're looking for things. And my point was, if a London team scores that, if Chelsea scores that, we're not going back and watching that. I guarantee you that thing stays. That's what really pissed me off, because they literally went out of their way to find that issue to turn it over. Nobody was looking for that. Like when even you saw the replay, no Chelsea fan was looking for that. I guarantee you, because when the goal happened, you were like, was he off? Because especially when the ball comes at an angle like that, you never know. The moment you look at it, you're like, damn it, he's on. I guarantee you, 95% of the Chelsea fans said, damn, he's on, and moved on until VAR came back and said, wait a second. We found something in the background. I thought we were trying to help scoring, not find ways to stop scoring.
Yeah, I think that's the most upsetting thing is we'll talk about this every week, is the consistency. If you're going to call it one way, you got to call it all the time, because it happens every single week. You have set plays designed to have these picks happen. And I think we can go back into this year and we could go look at set piece goals, not corner kicks, but set pieces, and see other moments where this happened and it wasn't checked for that. I think that's the biggest thing. I think most of us understand that Endo was in an offside position and he did affect some part of the play, but we also don't understand why that was called at this stage and not called any other time. Because you could also argue that the guy he was picking wasn't going to end up marking Van Dijk either. Chilwell was holding on to Van Dijk's shirt from the moment he went into the box. Like, Chilwell was marking him. I don't know if Endo stepping in was changing Colwill marking Van Dijk all the way. That's a what if game, right? I mean, we can sit here and play that all day. But I think it's just frustrating to see the lack of consistency is where we're at.
The ultimate barometer for me is the black sheep of the family, my brother, who's a United fan. If a United fan says, "Man, that's kind of bullshit,"
Then
I
you're
mean, like that's what, because I mean, he even said was like that was passive offside, is what we would call it 5 years ago, and it was going on. So I understand what Ryan is saying. He's like, not only offside, you look to block the guy. So what are those four guys doing when every team puts those four guys inside the box? Anytime the ball is coming at an angle, they're not there just for like getting the air or checking out the grass. They're doing the same thing. They're trying to crowd either the goalie from coming out, or they're trying to set a pick for the guy in the back post. Whatever their practice, that's the whole goal. Otherwise, why would you line up offside? I mean, that's the whole goal of them lining up offside. They know they're going to be passive offside, but they are serving a purpose. So that's the part of it that I did not like. And this whole re-refereeing the game is just what kills me.
Do you think if Endo was looking down the line rather than at Colwill, they would have looked at it more harshly like they did?
To be fair to Endo, he does look at him to see where he's at, but then he does kind of move a little bit. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously in his path for one, but then like he does move, but he can't move towards the ball because then he would be off because he's making a play. But I think, the fact that he's looking, it's almost like I say, when they rarely call the pick plays in the NFL, right? Like when they look at that. So I think that's probably was the issue. I guess my biggest thing is, yes, by the rule of the law, it is, but we are not going back and watching this, because I guarantee you go back, there's probably at least 20, 25 goals in the Premier League right now that you would chalk off if this was actually called. Not even forget freaking called, looked for.
Yeah.
Because it's never looked for. They literally had to look for something on this goal. That's what kills me. Like, nobody saw that goal and said, hey, there's something there. If anything, they were like, is Van Dijk off? No, he's not. He's on. Okay, well, it's a goal then.
Yeah.
That's what kills me.
Going back to that United goal, I don't remember. Was it against City? I don't remember. But it was Rashford and Bruno. Rashford was played off, and he was running towards the ball, but he didn't touch it. He stopped. And then I think Bruno came in and scored. Or maybe it was the other way around. This was a couple of years ago. And the fact that VAR never overturned that, from that moment, it just it doesn't make sense in how they call the offside, because there has to be a sense of what is called from game to game that is the same thing. Like, how can you not say Rashford is making a play toward the ball in that sense,
Yes.
and then call this on the other side? Yes, by the letter of the law, it is correct in a way. But if, like you're saying, and like we said, if you look back at 2025 goals from set pieces over the last couple of years, even maybe this year, who knows, you're going to see that every single time. Every time.
I agree though. Ryan says Chelsea fans can complain that Jackson's hand. He wasn't his hand. I thought the same thing when I was watching it live, but when you watch the highlights, when you look at see where they do put it
like
on the
right
sleeve,
here.
like
Yeah.
right where the sleeve of the jersey is, where it would not be considered like hand. And he was. I actually thought he was more off than. I was like, why are we watching this for so long? It felt like if you weren't looking at a weird angle, if you could have straightened that, it looked like he was off by a lot more. Apparently, when they drew the line, he wasn't, but he was still off, and that would have been. I mean, look, when you go back to the game, there are moments that it could have slipped away, and they could have, they could have capitalized on a mistake and scored like Chelsea could have. And once Chelsea scores on, if we were able to come back with what we have, fighting is different. But at the same time, I think you can say that with any game. Like you go back and watch the Barcelona game. I mean, there are some opportunities that Barcelona had in that 4-0 game that if they score, especially in that sense, it totally goes out of whack and stuff like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like an unbelievable situation of like how we ended up winning that. And if you're a Chelsea fan, you have to be like, how the hell did that even happen?
Yeah, you are massively disappointed. There's no other way you could feel. You can't sit there and applaud the guys for running for 120 minutes, because they had to win that game. They absolutely had to. If all things are equal, both starting 11s are out healthy on the field, more of an argument saying, okay, hey, we lost 1-0 in extra time, whatever. Liverpool was the better team. You go into extra time with the players you have on the field, with the money you've spent over the last few years, and you're playing a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
You have to win that game. And I don't know. Obviously, I think Pochettino came out and said that, Liverpool lost this final and it made them stronger and they came back, blah, blah, blah. They played against good teams that were healthy, right? I mean, they didn't play against.
They played against adults.
They didn't play against the C team, like this is, I think this is a very damaging loss. I think mentally it could be very damaging for this club. I think we've said that a few times the last couple of years for Chelsea, but it's hard to understand where they go from this when you have $150 million that you bring off the bench to change the game and nothing gets changed. That's not good. And you have to look past the manager even at that point. You have to look at the culture of the team. You have to look at the players themselves too. The manager obviously he's going to get a lot of the blame or the credit one way or the other, but the players need to also get the blame or the credit. And right now there's a lot of players on the team that deserve a lot of blame.
Dude, yeah, I mean, can you imagine? I mean, the amount of money spent, but I think that if we talk about a culture, and I know that takes time to build, but I don't know I like Part normally, as how he carries himself, how he talks. I couldn't care about his success, but I mean, he somehow managed not to be able to win at PSG, so that takes a special talents, to be fair. I mean, I think we can drop off Leo over there, and then he will put his paw on the team, and then they will still win the league over there in France. It feels like, but somehow Pochettino manages not to be able to win the league over there. But I think the culture has to go to him, though, right? I mean, there has to be a start to that culture somewhere. And I know he didn't bring a lot of these guys in. I don't even know if he gets to pick who he wants, or the American dude is like, we'll take him. What is he, hundreds? I'll give him 110. And here's another thing. I was watching that. Let me ask you that. They were talking about, I can't remember who it was, but it was in one of the shows. Somebody said about the negative impact these American style contracts can have on soccer players, these 7-year contracts and stuff like that, something that you do not normally get in soccer, obviously. Do you think that has an impact that a player, I would not think so, but I mean, it was an ex-player. I can't remember who the hell it was. But talking about it and saying, hey, you kind of relax it a little bit. You're like, I'm there, done, like job done, and then it's kind of hard to restart and get that drive and hunger going again.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, these guys are competitive. Though they're professional athletes, they had to have a certain drive to get them to the point that they are now. So at their core, I think they are competitive enough to want to win every game, regardless of how much they're being paid. But I do think that the fact that you could have 7 years locked up, if you will, and not have to worry about anything, because it's not like sports in the States where you can get traded. I know that you can get exchanged for different players in soccer. Like I know that happens, but the main way of moving to another team in the States is being traded, and you have to match up the salaries and this and that, blah blah blah. Whereas over there, especially in the Premier League, if you have 6-7 years locked up, you don't necessarily have to worry about getting sent anywhere. And if they want to get rid of you, they have to pay to get rid of you.
Yeah.
They can't just drop you and say, okay, well, this contract just null and void. No, there is an amount that they have to pay. So yeah, there's probably a sense of comfortability in many of those players that feel like, okay, this didn't go our way. It's fine. Maybe we'll win something in the next 5 years while I'm here. And if not, I'm making tens of millions while I'm doing it. So yeah, there's probably a sense of that. But I do think that ultimately they got to the point that they got to because they are competitive and they do want to win. So I don't know where the disconnect is. I think I can see some of the comments now. I think Conor Gallagher himself, I think any team in the Premier League would want a player like Conor Gallagher. I think he is a little bit dramatic sometimes, right? He'll take a fall every once in a while, but that dude will run through a wall for you. I mean, he is a player that I think most clubs would want to have, or a type of player, not maybe necessarily Conor Gallagher specific, but a player like that you need on your team always.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the other day, I think against City, baby, he ran like 13 kilometers or something like that. That's a lot. That is a lot. And yeah, he's probably like, if he's on our team, we probably like him in terms of like his like fights and like the running and stuff like that. I think this goes back to like what Sir Z is saying though, is not only the money being guaranteed, and you're like, I banked. I mean, let's face it, anytime generational wealth, if you will, when they like sign a new contract and stuff, right? And they're getting like paid weekly, more than what people make a thing, and whatever, that's fine. It's deserved. Obviously, they're getting it for a reason. But I think the fact that they will outstay a manager, almost guaranteed. Like if you're in a club for 7 years, you're almost guaranteed that you're going to be there longer than the manager. Because I think the average manager lifespan is probably 2-3 years, right?
Yeah, 2-3 years. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's, I think, more than maybe the money part of it. I can see like if you don't like what's happening, like, or where you play or whatever, or the system, like you're never going to buy into anything. Because you're like, you know what? I'll just wait for the next guy because the next guy's system will suit me better, or I'll see if I like the next one. If not, there's another one because I'm here 7 freaking years. I think that's, and now if they do not go to Europe, obviously there's going to be a lot of like FFP issues as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, and just trying to get reimbursement for some of these guys. Like, is there any club that's going to pay even half of what they paid Mudryk for? And you
were a big Mudryk fan at one point. I hate to bring that up.
What is that over there? Is that a reason to leave?
I was actually thinking that. I was like, man, Matush was like, I remember when they signed him, you were like, man, because mom, you watched him at, what was he, Shakhtar, right? That's where he was?
Yeah.
He was killer. I mean, the speed and stuff like that. Do you think he was?
I think he picked the wrong club.
He doesn't look good.
I think he picked the wrong club. I think if he went to Arsenal, I think we would see a different Mudryk.
That's what we see a different Mudryk if he was playing for us. I guess today if Mudryk was on the left, Diaz was on the right, we'd be kill him with the top speed that Mudryk has.
Possibly, and then you could also say if Caicedo was on this team, that this team would be even 10 times better than it is now. Who knows?
Yes.
I mean, I don't think Mudryk is a good hill to die on for me, but I do feel like if he was given a chance at a different club, like Arsenal when they were going in for him, I think things would have worked out better for him overall. But I do think it was just too much to pay for someone who wasn't necessarily proven at all. He played in a league that was a bit weaker, and he had some good flashes in the Champions League, and that was kind of what his price tag ended up being for, was just the flashes in the Champions League. So yeah, but it's a weird one, man. I was a fan. I'm not gonna say I wasn't, because there's Discord evidence.
Yeah,
Go
don't
back.
you dare.
There are receipts, and that's fine. You know me. I'm never gonna say that I'm gonna cower behind what I said before. I also had some decent opinions. Like, I thought that Cole Palmer was going to be great at Chelsea. Yesterday wasn't great, but I think he is worth every bit that they paid for him from City. I think he's a really good player, and I was shocked that he went so cheap back when they did. So once every 7 times I could be right about something.
That's not bad. 1 out of 7 is not bad. Polish Prince basing Mudryk on FIFA 21.
Not true.
Not true. Speaking of, by the way, if you're not only already on Patreon, yeah, Palmer's a dynamo, by the way. I mean, yeah, there was like a huge thing going on Discord a couple of weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, honestly, if you don't think, I mean, I saw stats. This was way after the fight was over, but I saw a stat like earlier this week or like end of last week or whatever, where his goal involvements, because they were showing, actually, it was something comparing Nunez and Haaland, and like Palmer was on the list. He was like 5th or 6th or something like that in goal involvement in the league, like in the top leaders in the shitty Chelsea side, mind you, of all teams, not like one of these teams that are high flying, like, Liverpool, Arsenal, or City or something like that. So he's quite the player, and they got him up for 40. I think it was 40 or something, right?
48.
Yeah, that's. I mean, how much is your boy Mudryk? And he is your boy Mudryk?
That's not fair?
Hey, man, it is what it is. He was 80, like what? 80?
80, yeah, 80.
That, I mean,
exactly,
so you can almost buy 2 Palmers in a bad math situation for 1 Mudryk. That's not too shabby. That's not. I would go with the 2 Palmers. In that case, 1 as a drink and 1 to watch the player.
They could sell them for 2 Palmers now. Like they could double the price and sell them off if they want to.
So going back to FIFA, we are going to start our the gaming American Scouser thing for the Patreon viewers. So we're taking votes on what the hell we should play. Do we play FIFA? Do we play FIFA Manager? Do we play Football Manager? So let us know which would be the most chaotic and obnoxious one to record, so we can kind of start doing that. If we play FIFA, like me playing Polish Prince, I think would be a huge attraction.
Just to watch me just get pissed off and say "fuck, God, fucking damn it, Timogen" every 2 minutes. Yeah, that would be great TV.
And he can't rage quit, which to give credits.
I don't
never
think
do. He's ever.
No. I could be down 6-1 to you, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna finish the game. There's still 40.
There's
still a second half.
You can sense the rage though sometimes when you play him. It's
I get quiet. That's when I get rage.
Yeah,
it's just like it's just simmering.
Yeah, I probably have the same reaction too. You can kind of tell. Yeah, it is simmering. The tackles are a bit more rash. The passing is a bit more hectic. Yeah, you can kind of tell he's losing the plot here. Ryan says, let's create a team and all play as ourselves.
We did do something like that a couple of years ago.
The club, yes.
Yeah.
We can actually do that. We can do the club mode. I think it's still. I have not done clubs in this newest FIFA over here, but I think it's still available, and we can do that. We can put. But do you want to play goalie in that thing?
I don't mind. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll play, but then they don't have sweepers anymore. I'm not gonna play center back.
No, you have to play up top or in the midfield. You have to control the game.
Yeah, I'll probably play. I'll play CDM or like midfield or something like that. Let's do that. Let's start something crazy like that. But it is Monday. So what are you up to? Who's getting groomed? Because you've been away at Barcelona
Yeah,
ungroomed.
I know it's getting a little ridiculous. No one. We're taking the day off. Michelle took the day off of work as well, and we're just gonna
Vacationing
have.
from the vacation.
Yes, just one day, just a little reset. We have to go, obviously, do groceries and all that stuff. So we will just take the day very slowly, and then eventually go back to work tomorrow. So nothing today.
Yeah, honestly, like when you do a vacation like that, when there's a lot of movement, you do almost need a day to.
We averaged 30,000 steps a day. It was
I would think so. Yeah.
insane. But Barcelona also very walkable city. I think that was the best thing about both. Barcelona more so, but both cities incredibly walkable, and you get to see so much as you walk around, which is always great. You don't feel like you wasted a lot of time, even if you were walking for half the day.
Is that partially because it's a different world?
That
Like
could be it.
literally?
Yeah, that could be it because there's just so much to see, and every other street you walk down, you're like, oh, whoa, what's that? Oh, what's that? So that's definitely part of it. But you don't, if I were to walk half a day here, I'd be like, fuck this, I'm so done. This is ridiculous. Why am I doing this? But over there, I'm like, all right, great, this is awesome. Let's do it again tomorrow, and so we do.
Dude, I know like when we do these like 2-3 day trips with Ange, there's a lot of walking, like 30,000. Yeah, I mean that sounds about right because it's
Yeah.
just like ridiculous amount of walking to the point where I remember God, I think it was in Nashville when we did that. And I mean, I could not even walk, dude, and like go through walking shoes. Like it's almost like we should get new shoes because otherwise, but yeah, couldn't even walk. Like we were at a museum, and I was like, okay, like we both were like, we gotta sit for a little bit. Just
Yeah.
feet hurt so bad. But yeah, you do see more that way, and I mean, especially if you're in like unique place, I think it's interesting to walk around and like see how different it is. Like when you go to Spain, I'm sure it's like everything is different, kind of an order.
Yeah, and if you're there for 5-6 days, if you want to take the first 2 or 3 days to just walk and see as much as you possibly can, and then from there you can take the metro, the underground train, to get to places to save some time. Because we like to see as much as we can, and then towards the end of the trip, if we have a place we want to go to, and it's a similar path that we've walked, we'll just take the metro, spend a couple bucks, just train over there, and save some time. Yeah, exactly.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean that's like the best way to see places though is as you walk, especially like a different country when you walk, see the people and they're like, look at the Americans, or are you going as like undercover as Polish when you do these trips?
I mean, when it's easier to speak Polish to not be identified as an American right away. It works in your favor,
you
guys.
speak Polish when you guys travel?
Sometimes, yeah.
Really? See, that's interesting. I did not know that.
It depends. Like when we went to Paris, we definitely spoke a little bit more Polish because we could sense that the French have a little reputation against the Americans, and we're like, we don't want to seem as American as we are, so we spoke Polish. So they just view it as like those Eastern European bastards instead of the Americans. So it helped a little bit.
It's sold in different levels over here. I don't
Right.
look extremely Turkish, so I can get away with it. But Angie would stick out like a sore thumb with the American thing because she doesn't know Turkish. So we would have to, yeah, we not. I can see that though. It's weird, but yeah, I can definitely see that there's like a built-in
A little bias. Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of built-in bias, no. I'll be back tonight with the boys. I'm sure we'll get their take on the games. Neither were in the post match, so we'll take Galley's take and Vickler's take on that. 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. As always, thanks to everybody. Like, subscribe, do all those good things, and we've been really growing organically, which is really nice to see. Thanks to all the shares and likes and stuff like that. Please continue doing so. Tell a friend who can tell another friend who can tell another friend. A lot of ears being dragged around in this damn place. But Polish Prince, welcome back to the US.
Thank you.
Being a regular old school prince is sort of like European royalty over there. And Go back to watching Mudrik videos on YouTube from the good old days. But yes, stay tuned, by the way, as we figure out what the hell to do with gaming over here. And then we'll be on doing that, doing the clubs and seeing Matush as a goalie. Have a great day, everybody. I'll see you guys tonight. Take care.